Millionaire discovers incredible secret as receptionist speaks German on the phone. A touching revelation in the heart of the Midwest. Jack Thompson stepped into the gloom of the clinic, the rain pattering against the window like a relentless reminder of his empty life. As a millionaire, he had everything, the sleek cars, the sprawling mansion, and the envious stares of others, but none of it filled the void that loomed inside him. He was just another man in a suit, cloaked in success yet devoid of joy. Today, his plan was simple: support a charity drive. But as he entered the waiting area, the sterile, clinical atmosphere didn't hold his attention. It was the sound of laughter on the other end of a phone call that inexplicably drew him closer. "Ja, ich verstehe," the receptionist, Maria, said, her melodic voice contrasting sharply with the mechanical whirs of the clinic. Intrigued, Jack paused, feeling an unusual warmth incandescence from her interaction. The gentleness of her German words wrapped around him like a long-lost embrace, stark against the coldness of his life. Curiosity surged within him, and he approached her, compelled to engage. "You speak German?" Jack asked, his voice betraying a hint of excitement. Maria turned, a bright smile on her face. "Yes, I'm from Germany. I emigrated here for a better life," she replied, her eyes sparkling with hope. She shared her journey, the harrowing escape from a war-torn home that had once suffocated her dreams. Jack listened, captivated yet unsettled. Each detail painted a picture of resilience contrasting his own life of privilege. While he worried about yacht maintenance bills, she fought to preserve her family's future. Guilt sliced through him like a knife. "I can't imagine what that must have been like," he murmured, his heart racing as he processed her struggles against his own existential ambivalence. Her tale illuminated the stark disparity between their worlds. He felt the weight of his inheritance, wealth amassed from years of hard work but also layered with neglect for the human experience. Just as he began to confront this unease, Maria revealed a shocking connection between their family histories, something he never expected. "Your grandfather, he was involved in something dark. Something that means our pasts are intertwined," she said softly, her compassion not lost in her revelation. His chest tightened at the implications, astonished at the unexpected link that connected him to the past he had taken for granted. The realization sunk in his family's legacy was stained with shadows, a haunting that loomed over him. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Jack's mind reeled as her words echoed deafeningly within him. He felt cornered between two lives, one burdened by wealth and privilege, the other defined by struggle and resilience. The stark contrast intensified his anguish. Should he continue along the path of ego and comfort, or confront the morality of his fortune? His palms grew clammy, heart thudding heavily as he noticed Maria returning to her diligent work, the fire of existence behind her every action, forging a better future against all odds. That he hesitated, wrestling with a storm brewing inside him. Every thought raced through his mind, his loneliness clashing violently with the hunger for a deeper, more meaningful connection. He realized that Maria's journey was a mirror reflecting his own disillusionment, a stark reminder of everything he had ignored. The burden of choice coiled tightly around him, and when he left the clinic that day, the knowledge of his family's past pressing down like the unwelcome rain. Would he have the courage to seek redemption? Or could he allow the tension of his legacy to suffocate the hope kindled within him? As he stepped back into the rain-soaked streets, an urgency gnawed at him, a flicker of determination fighting against the shadows of his inheritance and the life he had built on complacency. Jack barely made it a few steps outside the clinic before the weight of the encounter fully set in. The rain matched his disarray, pouring down with an intensity that mirrored the internal storm he faced. Each drop was a question ricocheting off the walls of his mind. What did it mean to inherit a legacy of darkness? Could he rewrite this narrative not just for himself, but for others? He leaned against the slick surface of the clinic's exterior, breath drawn sharply as the realization washed over him. He was stuck, facing the dichotomy of privilege and suffering personified in Maria. With recognition came urgency, an urge to act. For the first time in years, Jack felt an inkling of accountability settle in him, igniting a spark long extinguished. As he darted into the nearest cafe to escape the downpour, the aroma of fresh coffee momentarily distracted him from his plight. Sipping the bitter brew, the hallowed halls of his mind began to fill with possibilities. In each sip, he envisioned a new path, one that embraced philanthropy, that sought out those who shared stories like Maria's, honoring their struggles. Determination began to crystallize within him. His wealth, a tool that had once served only to elevate his own status, could instead be leveraged to alleviate the burdens on others. As he leaned back in the cozy cafe, the glow of the overhead lights felt almost halo-like, a strange comfort that infused him with purpose. Perhaps a conversation with Maria would be the first step toward a richer existence, one filled with authenticity instead of the plasticity that had defined his days. He retrieved his phone, scrolling to the clinic's number, suddenly desperate for the connection he had felt before. Each ring echoed his anticipation while the possibility of transformation washed over him. Maybe she would share more of her story, help him understand what reparations might look like. The ritual of listening could spark change both within him and in the lives of others he had overlooked. Finally, a voice broke through the connection. "Hello, Thompson Clinic, how can I help you?" "Hello, it's Jack Thompson. I was just in there." He paused, unsure how to express the urgency he felt. "I wanted to speak with Maria if she is available." "Let me check," came the reply before silence enveloped the line. Revelation surged as he fidgeted with the edge of the table, thoughts racing. What if Maria's history held the key to understanding his own family's shadowy legacy? What if she had insight on how to confront it? The possibility excited him, illuminating a territory he had treaded only in the dark recesses of his mind. When Maria's voice finally came through, it was warm and inviting. "Jack. You're back. What can I do for you?" The familiarity of her presence steadied his resolve. "I was wondering if we could talk more. About our families, our histories." "Of course. I'd be happy to. When and where?" The exchange was electric. As they made plans to meet and delve deeper, Jack felt a sense of agency taking root. For the first time, he was not just a player in a game of inherited privilege, he was a man poised to challenge the status quo. But as the conversation concluded, another thought intruded. While pathfinding was exhilarating, would Maria welcome the conversations of burden he intended? Would she even want to help someone linked to pain? As Jack left the cafe, the weight of expectation pressed against him once again. Amid determination, doubt stirred equally within. Would this journey yield redemption or merely amplify the shadows cloaked within his family's past? The decisions looming ahead stirred a formidable anxiety. The moment of reckoning was approaching, and Jack could feel the pull of destiny. It was time to face more than just his personal struggles, he needed to confront the very roots of his wealth. Would he find the courage to unearth the truth, or would he retreat into the safety of his self-made empire? The path was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Change was now an undeniable force pulling him forward. Jack arrived at the designated meeting spot, a modest park bench nestled beneath the sheltering branches of a sprawling oak tree. The rain had dulled to a light drizzle, and the air was laden with the earthy scent of wet soil. He sat, his heart thrumming in his chest with anticipation and uncertainty. For years, he had been ensconced in his wealth's protective embrace, blind to the complexities of life outside his insulated world. Today, he sought to peel back those layers. Maria approached, her figure framed by the remnants of sunlight peeking through the clouds. Something about her presence grounded him, providing a stark contrast to the chaos unfurling in his mind. She greeted him with a warm smile that radiated sincerity, immediately easing the tension coiled within him. "Thank you for meeting me," Jack began, his voice wavering slightly. "I wanted to learn more about your story, and how our experiences are intertwined." Maria settled beside him, her expression shifting from cordial to contemplative. "It's not often someone asks to hear my story. People usually look away. This admission pierced through Jack's growing resolve. He understood that listening to her would not just be an act of compassion, it would be an invaluable lesson on humility and responsibility. I've been reflecting on my own life, my upbringing. I want to explore how I can use my resources to help those who have struggled unfairly, like you. She regarded him with a mix of surprise and guarded optimism. You know, it's interesting. Many who have wealth don't think about its source. They just enjoy the benefits. The reality hit him hard. What exactly did he know about the origins of his family's wealth? The sacrifices, the compromises? The legacy of privilege was no shield against the moral quandaries it entailed. Facing it head-on held the potential to reshape his understanding of both wealth and responsibility. I stayed right between the lines, he admitted, rubbing the back of his neck, not wanting to rock the boat. But now I feel like I owe it to myself to dig deeper. His voice steadied as he continued, can you share your journey? Maybe it can help me navigate my way through what I've inherited. Maria exhaled slowly, as though preparing to submerge into deep waters. There's a lot to tell. I come from a family that faced hardships, with each generation fighting for a little bit more, the kind of struggle that forces you to choose between dignity and survival. He leaned in closer, drawing strength from her resolute demeanor. Jack began to understand that her pain wasn't just her burden, it was a shared humanity. And all this time, I've been sitting on the sidelines. Sometimes, she continued, it's knowing that someone actually cares that makes a difference. Your intent is the first step. As Maria shared her experiences, layers peeled away from Jack's understanding of his situation. With every revelation, he found himself teetering on the edge of a profound transformation, new values wrestling with the old. When the conversation turned to how he could actively engage in supporting those like Maria, Jack found himself filled with an unexpected sense of agency. Perhaps I could start a foundation or create a program to uplift others facing similar challenges, he suggested, hope shimmering through his uncertainty. It's a noble idea, but be mindful, Maria replied, her gaze piercing his facade. It can't be about feeling good in the moment. You'll need to stay committed even when it gets tough. As they spoke, Jack's stomach churned with fear and excitement. He was on the verge of a profound understanding even if he couldn't yet see the road ahead clearly. The fear of failure ignited alongside a burgeoning determination. The jagged edges of doubt would no longer dictate his choices, but as their conversation progressed, Jack couldn't shake a feeling deep within. A whisper of tension lingered, a hint that his journey into this new world might uncover darker truths than he anticipated about his family's legacy. Would the cost of redemption be heavier than he ever imagined? The weight of history loomed. Jack felt the urgency detach from the tumultuous background of his past and settle squarely on the shoulders of his future. And just as he contemplated the potential journey ahead, Maria turned to him, her eyes searching, her voice low. There are things, Jack, that might come to light. Are you prepared to face them? A chilling reminder of the responsibilities he was courting wrapped itself around his heart like an icy grip. He could only nod. It was a solemn vow, one that led him toward uncharted territory, drawing from the depths of his soul and setting the stage for the revelations yet to come. Jack returned home that evening feeling as if he had stepped into a different world. The luxury of his surroundings felt cold and unwelcoming, a stark contrast to the warmth he had experienced in Maria's presence. Absorbing her story had ignited a flicker of purpose within him that was both thrilling and terrifying. As he walked through the door of his sprawling mansion, he was haunted by her words, particularly the promise of hidden truths that could emerge, truths that might alter everything he thought he knew about his family and its legacy. Days turned into weeks as Jack grappled with his resolve to make a tangible difference. He spent hours researching social issues, reading about foundations and the complexities of philanthropy. But the knowledge he amassed felt futile, the pages of statistics and success stories dimmed by the overwhelming weight of his uncertainties. His mind raced through the implications of potential actions: how to engage without coming off as condescending, how to learn without exploiting, how to give without overshadowing that in his office, decorated with accolades and framed diplomas, Jack often paced while on calls with Maria. She had become a mentor of sorts, and he dialed her number more frequently as his sense of purpose deepened. Each conversation peeled back another layer of his misconceptions about wealth, privilege, and the genuine potential for change. Yet, interspersed within the dialogue, he felt twinges of doubt. Who was he really to champion their cause, to think he could make a lasting impact? One particular morning, while he was engrossed in a conversation about a potential project to assist displaced families, he noticed that his receptionist, Anna, had been softly conversing in German on the phone with someone. The juxtaposition of common office chatter against the backdrop of his newfound mission struck him with unexpected clarity. "Anna, do you speak German?" he asked, a blend of curiosity and distraction flowing through him. She turned to him, her expression shifting from courteous professionalism to genuine surprise. "Yes, I grew up in Germany before moving here." "Why do you ask?" "Just curious," he replied lightly, though his mind had already started to connect the dots. "Do you have friends or family back home?" "Yes, I do." "Why?" "Do you think," Jack hesitated, the weight of his growing ambition grappling with his hesitance, "that you could help me understand more about the refugee crisis there? Explore how I might assist from this side?" For a moment, Anna stared at him, caught off guard by the question. "I can certainly help with that, Mr. Carter. But it's a sensitive issue, and it might take time to navigate." That acknowledgement sent a ripple of exhilaration through Jack. Perhaps action was no longer a distant dream but an imminent reality. With the focus shifting from abstract ideas to concrete goals, he recognized something crucial about his own capability. The thought of opening dialogue, activating resources, and calling upon knowledge previously dismissed filled him with an inkling of clarity. "Let us meet later," he proposed, already plotting how to align Anna's insights with his vision. This could be the start of something substantial. However, as he prepared to leave the office, a gnawing sensation twisted in his gut. Was he ready to step into the kind of discomfort Maria had warned him about? As Jack mulled this over, the office felt smaller, constricted by the potential for confrontation with his own family's history that loomed on his horizon. There was a flicker of enthusiasm in the prospect of acting and a stark contrasted fear of the truths that may emerge, truths that he had yet to confront. Once again, as he glanced out the window, the thought occurred to him, all this time, he had stood atop a mountain of privilege and ignorance. Now, with every intention to climb down and traverse the uncharted territory of genuine growth, the stakes resonated even deeper. Jack felt a clear shift in momentum, but it came with an icy realization he could no longer retreat into complacency. The time had come to face not only the complexities outside but those nestled within the very fabric of his inheritance. The moment for decisions drew closer, and with a racing heart, he silently vowed to break away from the past. Little did he know, a series of events were about to unfold that would test this new resolve and challenge everything he thought he knew about loyalty, pain, and sacrifice. And as Jack prepared to embrace this new journey, Maria's earlier words echoed in his mind, reminding him of the raw truths still to be unveiled. Just how much was he willing to uncover for the greater good and at what cost? Jack's meeting with Anna felt almost surreal. The atmosphere in the conference room was thick with unspoken understanding, a sense that both of them were teetering on the edge of something significant. Stacks of documents lay between them, detailing initial project ideas, potential partnerships, and statistics that underscored the urgency of the situation in Germany. Yet within him, a tumult of anticipation and apprehension brewed. "Thank you for doing this," Jack said, breaking the silence that had stretched on a bit too long. "I've been wanting to learn more, but I didn't know how to approach it without coming off as insincere." Anna's brow furrowed slightly, sensing the deeper conflict in his words. "It takes courage to want to help, Mr. Carter. But sincerity is critical here. You can't approach this as just another project in the portfolio, it's real lives at stake." Her directness both disarmed and invigorated him. This wasn't about philanthropy for the sake of reputation, it was about human beings with histories, struggles, and resilience. As he absorbed her words, the layers of his own privilege began to crystallize in stark clarity. "Let us start with what you know," he encouraged her, his voice steady but laced with urgency. "What are the pressing concerns that people are facing right now?" He sat back and began to listen, allowing Anna to share her insights. The flicker of a shared purpose ignited within him, intensifying the determination to be a catalyst for change. Yet doubt still simmered beneath the surface. As she spoke of families torn apart, of dreams deferred, a nagging feeling whispered that he was still feet away from truly grasping the gravity of the issue. "Do you have any connections with organizations back in Germany? Ones that are doing effective work?" he asked, considering the next steps. Anna nodded, her demeanor shifting into that of a partner, not just an employee. "I know several. They're small but dedicated. They could use additional resources to expand their reach." Jack scribbled notes, taking in every detail. The excitement of actionable steps surged within him, blending seamlessly with his anxiety about what these decisions could mean. He was moving beyond discussions, he was on the brink of diving into the complexities of real-world consequences, into the emotional whirlpool Maria had warned him about. "I'd like to connect with them," he stated firmly, the thought solidifying into a mini-mission. "We need to understand their needs before we come up with a robust plan." Embarking on this journey meant wrestling with profound moral dilemmas. Was he equipped to navigate the uncharted waters of displaced lives when he had been so steeped in the comfort and safety of his elite reality? The answer loomed just out of reach, colored by trepidation. As their meeting drew to a close, Jack felt an odd mixture of lightness and burden. He had taken steps, but they were small, tentative ones. With Anna's reassurance, he understood that asking questions was a vital part of learning. It was a moment he aimed to remember, one that might ground him when confronted with the inevitable discomfort ahead. "Thanks again, Anna. Let us keep this conversation going," he said, his voice carrying a note of resolve. "I need your insights, but I also want to ensure I'm not just a philanthropist throwing money at a problem." "That's a good start," she replied, her smile of encouragement warming his resolve. "The more you understand, the better you'll grasp the complexities involved. We can work together and make this impactful." As Jack left the conference room, thoughts swirled like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind. He felt the walls of his own world closing in, the weight of expectation and legacy pressing down. There was so much to learn, so much unexplored territory that lay before him, not just externally through actions but internally through his evolving sense of identity. Walking back to his office, a profound urgency enveloped him. He envisioned meetings with organizations, conversations with families, and all the layered emotions that would unfurl as he confronted not only the issues at hand but his own biases that had sharpened with clarity. Suddenly, a phone call interrupted his thoughts. A name flashed across the screen that sent a ripple of tension deep in his chest. It was a number he recognized too well, someone from his family. The feeling that he was being summoned, called back into a domestic narrative fraught with expectations and inherited roles washed over him. He hesitated, thumb lingering over the screen. Did he dare pick up, knowing full well that reconnecting with his family might jeopardize the very path he had just begun to tread upon? Trying to discern his priorities felt almost impossible at that moment. As he stared at the ringing phone, Jack faced the sobering realization that this journey of self-discovery was not just about helping others, it was equally about confronting his own past, and the conflicting loyalties that awaited him. Was he willing to unravel the tapestry of his lineage to pursue a path towards authentic change? The ringing faded, each chime pulling Jack deeper into a vortex of conflicting emotions. He swiped to answer, heart racing, fully aware that this call could disrupt everything he was trying to build. His voice was steadier than he felt. "Hello. Jack, it's your mother." Her voice fluttered through the speaker, familiar yet distant, laden with expectation. The way she pronounced his name felt like an echo of his childhood, nurturing yet demanding. "Hi, Mom," he replied, forcing the politeness despite an undercurrent of frustration. "Is everything okay?" "We need to talk," she said, the gravity in her tone unmistakable. "Your father's not well, and we could really use your help right now." Jack couldn't shake the irritation bubbling within. Here he was, poised on the edge of an important journey, and he was being pulled back into the world he had tried to distance himself from. What kind of help? He asked cautiously, knowing well the unspoken family responsibilities that loomed over him. Just, everything, she said, her words tumbling out without clarity. He has become withdrawn, and the family business is struggling. We could use you back here, Jack. A wave of conflict rushed through him. He could picture the family firm, that stifling environment where decisions were made behind closed doors, driven more by legacy than by passion. Each option felt like a two-edged sword. Returning home could mean inadvertently squashing the burgeoning momentum he had begun to harness, while ignoring the call would deepen the familial rift that had twisted his childhood. Mom, I've got projects in the works, important ones, he replied, his voice revealing the tension he felt in his chest. I'm working to make a real impact. A real impact? She echoed, her skepticism sharp. Impact doesn't pay the bills, Jack. You know that. Her words landed heavy, each syllable a push back towards a life he wanted to leave behind. The desire to prove himself, to step beyond his family's shadow, surged within him. Yet, the looming specter of his father's fragile state weighed equally heavy. This was not just a business, it was family, blood. I'll think about it, Jack managed to say, a promise hanging in the air. He hung up, the weight of the conversation lingering, deep and oppressive. As he returned to his desk, he grabbed a piece of paper and scribbled a list: potential contacts in Germany, key issues Anna had mentioned, and now family obligations pulling him back. The competing priorities pinballed through his mind. Jack's attention returned to the projects with Anna. He felt his resolve firming. Meeting with organizations and families in need could align with confronting the family constraints pressing down on him. Perhaps engaging with the personal struggles of others could shift the focus away from his own familial expectations. In a burst of clarity, he pulled out his phone, intent on calling Anna. As the line connected, he embraced the urgency surging inside. Anna, I think we should meet sooner than planned. There's a way to engage that could give meaning to the work we're doing, something that transcends mere support. Absolutely, she replied, her voice infused with enthusiasm. When are you available? Tomorrow morning. I want to discuss those organizations and how we can start making real, tangible connections. This can't wait. Great. I'll set up a meeting. I can't wait to dive deeper. As he ended the call, Jack felt a surge of adrenaline. This was his moment to reconcile the two stark facets of his life: family expectations and the deep desire for meaningful change. Yet even with this newfound clarity, the looming dread of disappointing his family pulsed through him. That night, sleep eluded him as the images of displaced families in Germany bled into thoughts of his ailing father, tugging insistently at his conscience. He found himself questioning the very definitions that had governed his life choices: success, responsibility, legacy, and what they meant to him now. His phone buzzed again, breaking the silence: an unexpected message from Anna. I found a few organizations that might interest you. Let us make this happen. Together, we can do something extraordinary. Jack read the message, each word fueling his tentative hope for a bridge that could connect his familial duty with the passion for change he was discovering within himself. The thrill of possibility charged through him, igniting yet another layer of resolve, but could he truly juggle the dual expectations without losing himself in the process? The thought sent a wave of anxiety through him as he contemplated the path ahead. That he knew the time would soon come when he would have to choose, to fully embrace the challenge of forging a path in Germany or revert to the familial roots that had both nurtured and constrained him. Then came a gut-punch realization: the answer might not lie in a decision at all, but in how he honored both worlds without sacrificing his own identity. The question hovered in his mind like a specter, taunting him with the complexity of his choices and the weight of the coming days. How would he navigate this intricate dance of loyalty while forging a new identity that felt authentic? Jack woke to the soft glow of dawn filtering through his window, a gentle reminder that time pressed on. The weight of yesterday's conversation lingered in his mind, his internal conflict blooming as he rose from the warmth of his bed. The walls of his apartment, once his sanctuary, now felt like constraints, reminding him of the unsolved tension between his aspirations and familial obligations. Today was the meeting with Anna. The thrill of collaborating on projects designed to help others reinvigorated him, but the gnawing anxiety of the looming family crisis remained. As he brewed his morning coffee, he paced the small kitchen, contemplating the day. Would discussing the organizations empower him or merely serve as a diversion from the inevitable? He found himself gravitating toward his list, the scribbled notes a haphazard reflection of his muddled thoughts. Contacts, issues, obligations. With each glance, he felt the layers of responsibility suffocating his determination. Focus, he muttered to himself, attempting to ground his swirling mind. At 9 sharp, Jack made his way to the cafe they had chosen, a small, bustling establishment that buzzed with energy. The aroma of fresh brewed coffee filled the air, and he took a deep breath, letting the scent summon his growing resolve. Anna was already seated, her notebook open, pen poised. "Good morning, Jack." Her brightness illuminated the space as if scattering his doubts. "Morning, Anna," he replied, trying to match her energy. "Thanks for pushing this meeting forward." "I think it's vital," she responded, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I've done some research on a few organizations that align with our vision. There's a lot we could accomplish together." As they discussed potential collaborations, Jack felt his initial trepidation begin to fade. The possibilities Anna presented were intoxicating, each concept pushing him closer to the merge of his two worlds. They spoke about orphanages, refugee support networks, and grassroots community initiatives that sparked something deep within him, but with every new initiative, the split between familial loyalty and personal purpose nagged at the back of his mind. When Anna mentioned a crisis in leadership at one organization, the metaphorical knot in his stomach tightened. "Do you think they would need someone with business acumen?" Jack asked, inadvertently revealing his internal sense of merging responsibilities. "Absolutely. It could be a game changer," she responded, enthusiasm bubbling over. "You've got the background to steer this ship and innovate at the same time. You could make an enormous impact." Jack's heartbeat quickened at the thought. With each idea Anna presented, Jack felt a tug towards the kind of contribution he'd only daydreamed about until now. The thought of using his family business experience to fuel a cause ignited a flicker of hope, yet the specter of judgment still hovered. In moments of thoughtful silence between their exchanges, Jack's mind wandered to his father. The weight of his father's expectations and his mother's anxiety pressed heavily on his shoulders. Was it possible to make a real impact while still maintaining ties with his family? His professional instincts screamed to forge ahead, but familial loyalty was a strong anchor. As the meeting drew to a close, Anna's voice cut through his reverie. "Jack, what's holding you back? You're on the precipice of something amazing. Don't let uncertainty hold you hostage." Her words ignited a fierce determination within him, contrasting starkly with the familial chains he felt. He realized then, amidst burgeoning excitement and lingering doubt, that this was also a test of his capacity for growth. "I need to process this," Jack finally admitted, looking into her eyes with newfound clarity. "But I want to be a part of this. I need to find a way to reconcile these worlds." As they wrapped up, Jack couldn't shake the feeling of anticipation that electrified the air. How profoundly could he intertwine these endeavors into his life without letting go of either? And at the back of his mind, his father's health loomed a reality he couldn't escape. Stepping out into the sunlit street, Jack clutched Anna's notes tightly, determination bubbling within. Yet, the question lingered. Would he rise to face his family's realities while pursuing a path that felt so fundamentally his? Before he could dwell too long, his phone buzzed again, a reminder of the familial duty he'd left waiting. This time, it displayed a message from his mother: "We need to talk about Dad's condition, it's urgent." A swell of anxiety washed over him, clashing with his optimism from the meeting. The crossroads were drawing nearer, and soon Jack would have to find the strength to confront the growing tensions pulling him in every direction. What choices would he make when faced with his father's faltering health and his own burgeoning vision that yearned to take flight? The urgency of his mother's message pulled Jack from the cafe's energy into the clutches of reality. He hesitated on the sidewalk, the sunlight suddenly dimmed by the weight of familial obligation. He took a deep breath, reminding himself that this was a crucial moment, one that demanded clarity and courage. Walking home, each step felt heavier. The fleeting excitement from his meeting with Anna clashed with the worry stifling his resolve. He envisioned Anna's infectious passion, her belief in his ability to make a difference. It ignited something dormant within him, a desire to contribute meaningfully, yet the impending family crisis loomed like a heavy curtain, threatening to close off the light. As he stepped into his apartment, the familiar surroundings felt stifling. He could hear the faint click of his mother's heels against the hardwood floor, a sound that signaled not just urgency, but anxiety. Jack paused for a moment, gathering his thoughts. Not knowing what lay ahead, he prepared himself to confront the swirling emotions that had just become more tangible. Jack. His mother's voice broke through his thoughts as she appeared in the doorway, her face lined with concern. "I'm glad you're here. We need to discuss your father." The mention of his father sent a tremor through him. "How is he doing?" Jack asked, trying to maintain a composed demeanor while the anxiety flicked at his insides. "He's not the same. The doctor mentioned more tests, and he might need more support than we anticipated." Her voice wavered slightly, fear hidden beneath her attempts at strength. Jack's heart raced. As a child, he had looked up to his father, hoping to inherit not just the family business, but the wisdom and resilience that seemed to define him. But now, the reality of his father's deterioration felt like a fracture in the foundation of his life. What kind of man would he become when his father could no longer guide him? "Mom," he began cautiously, "I need to consider my options." The words stuck in his throat. Could he discuss his ambitions of helping others alongside his father's failing health? How could he juggle family duty with the newfound resolve to pursue his passions? "I know you have your own plans," she began, her voice tinged with both understanding and frustration. "But our family needs you. Your father needs you. And I can't do this alone." Her plea struck a nerve. Jack felt guilt knot in his stomach. On one hand, he yearned for the freedom to forge his path, yet on the other, he felt tethered to the legacy he'd inherited. The internal battle unfurled, pushing and pulling between aspiration and obligation. "I can help, but I also need to explore opportunities that matter to me," he finally said, his voice gaining a firmness he didn't expect. "I want to make an impact." Jack's declaration hung in the air, a fragile bridge he hoped could connect the lives he felt destined to lead. The silence deepened, both of them absorbing the implications behind his words. His mother looked at him, a mixture of fear and hope reflecting in her eyes. "Just promise me you won't forget where you came from." The weight of her expectations pressed down on him, threatening to overshadow his ambitions. He had already begun to envision a new chapter, one where both family and purpose could coexist. Perhaps, he thought, there was a way to merge his love for his family with the desire to support others in need. Before he could dwell on the implications of compromising either side, his phone buzzed again, echoing through the heavy atmosphere. With a glance at the screen, Jack's heart dropped. It was a message from Anna. "The organization has an urgent need for someone to step into a leadership role. Can you meet today?" With his heart racing, Jack faced a pivotal moment. Would he prioritize his father's needs or grab at the opportunity that could forge a new identity for him? Here lay an opportunity to blend both halves of his life, but could he pull it off? As both paths began to unfold before his eyes, uncertainty hung thick in the silence, setting the stage for the impossible decisions that awaited him. Could he embrace the chance to redefine himself while tethering the loyalties that had shaped his foundation? Suddenly, the realization struck him like lightning. The moment to act was now. He couldn't defer his own aspirations any longer. The critical choice loomed ahead, and Jack knew he would have to confront it head-on, along with whatever possessed him to navigate an uncertain future. What would he choose when the dynamic scales of duty and ambition teetered so precariously? And would he finally be able to communicate his need to be more than just the sum of his family legacy? Jack stood in the small sanctuary of his living room, the weight of the decision pressing down on him as he clutched his phone. He could see the two paths ahead, woven together yet diverging family obligations and burgeoning aspirations. An opportunity awaited him, the allure of a leadership role flashing on his screen like a beacon amidst the stormy seas of doubt. That he took a deep breath and replied to Anna's message, his fingers hovering above the keys. Was he truly ready to step into this new role, knowing that it might pull him away from the ailing shadows of his father's presence? The thought gnawed at him, but he reminded himself of Anna's belief, her contagious passion that stirred his dormant flame. "Count me in." "What time?" he typed quickly, each letter committed to action, but still, a part of him was unwilling to let go of the concern over his father. A rapid response from Anna, "Let us meet in an hour at the office. We can discuss everything there." Jack's mind rushed. Suddenly, he didn't just have an opening in his professional life, he faced a test of character. Could he navigate the demands of leading a team while also being the support his family needed? He slid his phone into his pocket and faced his mother again. She was standing by the kitchen entrance, the remnants of worry still etched on her face, her hands clasped tightly. Jack could see the concern mirrored in her eyes, the way they darted to a flickering candle on the table as if searching for reassurance. "Mom, I need to go meet someone about a job opportunity," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Her expression tightened. "Now. What about your father? He may need you here." Jack felt the familiar pang of guilt wrap around his heart. "I want to be gone long. This could be important for me and for our family. I want to help, but I also need to forge my own path." The last few words didn't feel like merely a statement, they resonated with him. Could he simultaneously build his life and be there for his family? His voice gained strength as he continued, "If I want to support us, I have to also support myself. I promise I won't be gone long, I have to at least try." His mother's face softened slightly, but a hint of sadness lingered. "I understand, Jack. It's just hard to think about juggling it all." "Yeah, it is," he replied, feeling the heavy honesty of her sentiment. But the urgency of his aspirations crystallized in his mind. Stepping into the unknown could be a chance to learn and grow, to embrace the leadership he had often shied away from in the past. As he gathered himself to leave, he turned for one last look at his mother. "I'll check in after I meet Anna, okay?" She nodded, and though worry still clouded her gaze, there was an unspoken understanding. It was an acknowledgement of the necessary growth they both needed to face. The brisk air outside snapped him awake from the emotional cocoon he had just left. He walked toward the office, each step reverberating with a mix of trepidation and excitement. The city buzzed around him, the rhythm of life pulsing in the streets as he found himself wondering if he could adapt this newfound ambition to help others while intrinsically caring for those he loved. Arriving at the office, he stepped into a vibrant atmosphere, the walls echoing with noise and laughter. Glancing around, he could hear snippets of conversation, but all he could focus on was the anticipation of what might unfold. "Can I really do this?" Jack thought, feeling both exhilaration and fear coursing through him. As he approached the conference table, he caught sight of Anna animatedly discussing plans with a few team members. The way she animatedly engaged with others drew him in. She was a natural leader, and her confidence was infectious. "Hey, Jack." She waved him over, her smile lighting the room. In this moment, he realized he had a choice, not just between obligations, but to actively embody the change he wished to bring. Jack felt the stirrings of bravery bubbling within him as he approached. He needed this courage to tackle both the personal upheaval awaiting him and the professional ascent he craved. The moment had arrived for him to claim his future, a chance not made for mere obligation but one ignited by ambition and resolve. Yet, a nagging thought lingered: how could he maintain that delicate balance between personal duty and professional development, particularly now that realities of his father's health intertwined with every decision he made? What would happen when the two worlds collided, and would he emerge stronger, or would the weight of expectation prove too heavy to carry? Jack stepped into the conference room, a tangible buzz swirling around him as his team eagerly discussed their plans for the upcoming project. The energy was palpable, suffusing him with a rush of excitement and determination. In just days, he had shifted from the shadows of family expectations to a position leading initiatives that could genuinely change lives. Gone were the days of reluctance. He was ready to embrace his role, not just as a benefactor of wealth but as a collaborator in community upliftment. In his interactions with Anna, Jack had learned the intricate balance between leadership and empathy. Their conversations had opened up perspectives he had previously overlooked. Ideas that once seemed daunting now materialized into actionable plans, reflecting his newfound clarity of purpose. Time to take charge, he murmured to himself, a reaffirmation of his commitment to pursue meaningful change. As he glanced around the room, a sense of belonging settled within him. The vibrant discussions were not merely about charity, they were infused with authenticity and shared humanity. These conversations ignited a distinct fire in Jack. He felt a surge of confidence. He was not merely stepping into a leadership role, he was reshaping the very narrative of his legacy. "I have an idea," he announced, capturing their attention. The room quieted, eyes turning toward him. This was a pivotal moment, a chance to share his vision. "What if we focus not just on fundraising, but on community engagement? Building relationships that amplify our mission can create lasting change." He paused to absorb the gaze of his colleagues as encouragement sparkled in their eyes. It was invigorating to realize that he wasn't just speaking to them, he was rallying them towards a greater purpose. "Absolutely, Jack. We can involve local businesses and invite them to collaborate," Anna chimed in enthusiastically, her belief in him unwavering. Jack nodded, buoyed by the support. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was a collective endeavor, a community effort that thrived on shared stories. Together, they formally outlined his proposal, a conference meant to bridge the gap between affluent patrons and the communities that needed support. They would invite speakers from the refugee organizations he had been learning about, those who could articulate their own stories of resilience, thus adding face and depth to their initiatives. As discussions unfolded, a fear flickered beneath his determination. What could this undertaking cost him personally? Yet, as he glanced at Anna and the diverse faces eager to contribute, he felt tethered to something meaningful. This was his moment of transformation. Meanwhile, the swirling concerns of his family's needs bubbled to the surface. He reminded himself that this awakening didn't mean abandoning his responsibilities, it meant aligning them. He could take on leadership while still being a support for his father. The tasks ahead were not mutually exclusive, rather, they illuminated different facets of his identity. In the following weeks, his team successfully organized the event, drawing in partnerships and sponsorships that he leveraged from his business acumen. Jack's efforts culminated in a conference filled with local entrepreneurs, community leaders, and families seeking change. Organizing it was a triumph, but it was the stories shared that left a lasting imprint. Each narrative echoed truth. They touched upon the struggles faced, the indomitable spirit of humanity, and the collective effort that binds people together. The walls of his mansion felt further away with each testimony he heard. The constrictive narratives of his inheritance could evolve into something beautiful when met with compassion and bravery. After the event, as he mingled with attendees, Jack spotted a familiar face. Maria had come to speak, bringing her story full circle. They exchanged smiles, two individuals linked not only by their pasts but by their dedication to shaping the future differently. "I never imagined your initiative would take flight like this," she remarked, eyes shining with approval. "You truly are making a remarkable impact." Jack felt the sting of tears glistening in his eyes, a surprising wave of warmth enveloping him. "Thank you, Maria. Your emergence into my life nudged me towards this path. It was your courage that inspired me to confront my privilege." The transformation he sought was real. He had not only altered his life's course but also embraced the complexities of his identity. There was a gratifying sense of accomplishment surging within him as he understood the expansiveness of his journey, one that acknowledged family ties and also fostered new paths of understanding. Later that evening, as Jack returned home, he felt a solid confidence rest upon his shoulders, a growing recognition of his evolved competence. He had demonstrated the ability to listen, learn, and act, all while weaving in the responsibility that came with wealth. He had begun building bridges instead of walls, aligning his past with a new narrative that could honor both his family and those he aimed to uplift. As he sat by the window, view of the city sprawled beneath the dimming sun, he knew this was merely the beginning. Redefining his legacy was no longer a distant thought, it had transformed into his unequivocal mission. And the best part? The newfound drive inside him thrived on possibility and potential, illuminating the path towards authentic fulfillment. Now was the moment to capitalize on the momentum he had catalyzed. For anyone watching, this transformation was substantial, not just as a story but as a principle in action. You need to subscribe now to not miss the unfolding of these exclusive emotional journeys. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm so we can keep bringing you powerful stories. Comment your reactions on how Jack's journey inspired you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion and understand the importance of authenticity in their lives. Don't wait even one more second to support the channel.